Now we are going to take your focus to the 9-point agenda that has been suggested by India to G20 for action against fugitive economic offences and asset recovery. Now, a few of the key points here is the fact that strong and active cooperation across G20 countries to deal comprehensively and efficiently with the menace fugitive economic offenders. Also, cooperation in the legal processes such as effective freezing of the proceeds of the crime, early return of the offenders and efficient repatriation of the proceeds of crime should be enhanced and streamlined. Another important point is the fact that joint effort by G20 countries to form a mechanism that denies entry and safe havens to all fugitive economic offenders. Now, we have Arunima joining us in the broadcast to continue this conversation and give us more details on this 9-point agenda that has been suggested. Arunima, firstly, the very fact that there is a 9-point agenda that has been suggested and quite a few key points have come up. How are we looking at this, and if you can set some context for our viewers regarding the details that have been put out in this?
So before the summit, throughout the year, we have seen various subgroups meeting of various ministries. The finance ministry, Pallavi, just told us a while back, is suggesting that crypto be discussed at the summit level as well. So when the anti-corruption units were meeting, when the ministers of the G20 countries who were dealing with various issues related to corruption and organized crime is concerned, they suggested that the issue of economic offenders must be taken up, and a 9-point agenda was suggested there. It included how informal cooperation can also happen. For example, if one country gets to know that an economic fugitive has a bank account in another country, informally, how can that information be confirmed? How can that sharing happen? Formally, platforms like FATF, platforms that govern organized crime under the aegis of United Nations, how can those international platforms be also used, has also been suggested by this forum which met. FATF is already looking at money laundering and at terrorism. So that platform they're suggesting can also be used, and once FATF guidelines are formed, then everybody who is signatory to the FATF becomes legally bound. Their own legislations will have to be amended thereby to ensure that fugitive economic offenders are looked at with the same lens across all G20 countries. 2-3 things that they're talking about. A, if there are tax havens which the economic offenders are exploiting, that the G20 countries must ensure does not happen. B, if they have bank accounts, I've already told you. 3, if their ill-gotten wealth, proceeds of crime, have to be sent back to the country where the crime has happened, then how can that be done at the earliest? So these have all been suggested. This is a big concern for India, and they're hoping that at the summit level too, this will lead to some kind of an agreement between the heads of the G20 countries.
Right. Also, if we speak, there are quite a few pointers that have been made with regards to FATF, like you were just pointing out. Like the FATF should be called upon to assign priority and focus to establishing the international cooperation that leads to timely and comprehensive exchange of information. So these particular pointers that have come in regarding the FATF, if we could get into the depths of those for our viewers.
So what is FATF? It is the Financial Action Task Force. And who are the people about whom we are discussing? We are discussing about people who are accused of financial crimes. Economic fugitives is the focus group in this particular area. So what they are suggesting is that FATF can come up with a definition to which all G20 countries agree, and the associate countries who are part of this platform, they also agree as to who is an economic offender, who is a fugitive economic offender. Once that definition is agreed upon, what is the kind of cooperation that can then be enlisted amongst the FATF members? How can FATF enforce? If you take the example of money laundering and terror financing, for example, there are very strict guidelines that FATF has, and each country has to abide by it. We saw when Pakistan was grey-listed how much pressure was put on it to ensure that its terror financing stopped, and it yielded results. So that is the kind of fora, that is the kind of standardization that India is seeking, that once the definition is reached, FATF platform be used to ensure that each country agrees that if they have an economic fugitive, how should that fugitive be treated? How should repatriation be done? How should proceeds of crime be returned to the country where the crime occurred? And what level of cooperation has to happen? If you do not follow FATF guidelines, Like I said, there is a process of grey listing, there is a process of blacklisting. So there are downsides of not following the FATF standards. That's why India is pushing that platform we use to look at economic offenders.
Right, Arunima. Arunima, thank you for bringing us all those details into this particular 9-point agenda that has emerged and surfaced for the G20 meeting. But right now, we're going to shift our focus within the G20 summit. We bring you some more information about the kind of preparations that have been going on. This is the fact that the monsoon fury has certainly affected the hill state of Himachal Pradesh. Only a few weeks ago, we had seen the kind of condition that prevailed there. But the upcoming G20 summit has rekindled hopes of revival in the state's tourism sector. My colleague Yash Goel brings you a detailed report on this. Take a look.
Unprecedented rains and landslides in Himachal Pradesh have hit the tourism sector badly, but with the G20 there is hope. Now the hotel industry is looking at the two-day summit as a means of revival. Many hotels in Himachal Pradesh are offering special G20 holiday packages as Delhi will witness a lockdown-like situation for 3 days. Hotels are also offering special discounts as they feel Delhi NCR is their biggest market.
What happened in Himachal Pradesh now, actually hoteliers and in fact the entire hotel industry is also looking at this G20 as one of those moments where they can help boost their businesses. In fact, I've been joined by one such hotelier from Shimla. संजय जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका बात करने के लिए CNN News 18 से. सबसे पहले मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहूंगा कि ये जो आप स्पेशल पैकेज ऑफर कर रहे हैं G20 के मद्देनजर, क्या कुछ बता पाएंगे इस पैकेज के बारे में?
We are offering a special package, stay for 3 nights and pay for 2 nights.
ठीक है संजय जी, एक बात जानना चाहूंगा कि जैसे G20 नजदीक आ रहा है, दिल्ली में इवेंट है, बहुत बड़ा इवेंट है, आपकी इंडस्ट्री के लिए कितनी बड़ी एक ये इवेंट कितना बड़ा साबित होता है?
सर, इसका ये इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है कि हमारे लिए ये गुड थिंग्स है कि कस्टमर्स हैव स्टार्टेड टू कम एंड ऑक्यूपेंसी ट्रेंड्स इज पिकिंग.
The G20 summit may be a diplomatic showcase in Delhi, but for many others it's a ray of hope, a catalyst in cutting losses.
While some may feel that there will be some sort of inconvenience when it comes to the G20 summit and the added travel restrictions in the national capital, but many are actually looking at the golden side of it, and in fact they are trying to encash this golden opportunity. Well, it may sound a little bit off, but it is in fact this very summit will act as shot in arm for many industries, and in fact one fine example of it would be the tourism industry of Himachal Pradesh. This is Yash Goel with video journalist Arpit Seth for CNN News 18.
Well, we will slip into a short break, but don't go anywhere as we will come back with all other latest developments from across the nation and around the world right here on CNN News 18 on the other side.